Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators. And a warm welcome to our Whiskey for the Ages podcast listeners. I'm your host tonight, Hannah Dawson, and Dad's on my left.
Hello, everybody.
And Elora's on my right.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we are talking about the Whiskey Value Conundrum.
Oh,
at least in more full detail than what we've talked about in previous episodes. We thought that this one would be best run by me, seeing as it's what I am always harping on in every episode, the discussion of value and how that can be interpreted by different people. So tonight's going to be a really loose discussion. Got a couple of things on the agenda to talk about, but I just want to bring you all listeners into the conversation as well. So you'll have to let us know how you all approach value when you're in the store, when you're stocking up a collections cabinet, or when you're pulling a bottle down for a pour to enjoy. So I wanted to start off, we each have a couple of pours here.
What are we drinking?
See, that's the question, right? So I gave these two a very blank slate to work with. I said, out of everything we've got in the bunker, I want you guys to pick the bottle that you think has our highest value and then our lowest value. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Elora, you first. What is your highest value? You don't have to go into super detail as to why it's your highest value yet, but what is your high value product here?
At $40, I chose the Traveler's Whiskey.
We reviewed that one at the beginning of this season of our podcast. Check that out if you haven't already heard that. We give our opinions on it in full detail. And then, Dad, what's your high value product?
I've got Baker's tonight. Baker's 7-year-old, 107 proof. I just think it's a sleeper bourbon. If you see it on the shelf, probably people walk by it. I think that you need to grab it.
Yeah, that one doesn't really come in a bottle that attracts a whole bunch of attention, and it sits at a maybe awkward price point. How much?
$59.99.
$59.99. So it's on that turning point of people, I would argue, putting any money out for it. For my high value one, I have Weller Full Proof. This one sits at 114 proof, and MSRP puts it at right about $55. So we're actually all kind of in the same neck of the woods price-wise, but we're going to talk about why we think all of these have the value that they do. And I want to start that conversation first by referencing one of the SIP articles we have on our page. It was written by me, called The Value Conundrum. It's one of the first articles that was posted to our page when we started our blog, and it's what I reference pretty frequently in these podcasts. So when you reach for a bottle, whatever that price point is, it's about having a certain set of expectations from that price point. Whether you're looking for it to be a certain proof, or whether you're looking for a certain level of complexity, maybe even it's part of the mash bill. It's very subjective to everybody. So I break things up into $10 increments, and these days when we wrote the Whiskey Value Conundrum article, there were quite a few products that you could still find for that $20 mark. That's a little bit harder to come by now. So maybe that needs to be adjusted. But from $20 to $30, I had these sets of expectations. From $30 to $40, etc., etc. So, Elora, coming back to your Travelers, this is a $40 product, as you mentioned. What about it is giving you the value that makes you go, wow, only $40?
I look at everything from a college student perspective. So I don't like to spend money. And therefore, when I get bourbon, I do consider price to be a very, very big factor. Travelers whiskey, I really liked. It was pretty well rounded, pretty well balanced, and I thought that it would be a good $40 bourbon.
So I'm going to interject here that I know you like larceny, just the regular off-the-shelf larceny. We didn't have any tonight.
I'm very sad.
Would that have changed your pick tonight had we had any larceny straight bourbon on hand? That one sits at around $35-ish.
Probably, but it also comes down to what mood I was in tonight.
Aha, mood. That's a pretty big piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
I have to say.
I'm very picky.
So what makes Traveler whiskey the mood of tonight's evening and not larceny?
Well, we didn't have the larceny, and larceny is a pretty good one that I do go for quite frequently up at college. And Travelers, I just really, really liked it. It wowed me. It wowed me on everything. It had a good fruitiness. It had a good caramel. Like, it had all the charts. And for only $40, I was like, yeah, I'll spend $40 on it.
And I remember when we were reviewing that one that we said how approachable it was to even the novice drinker.
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't burning my mouth.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like, I am a high proof anything. Like, no, it's just approachable. It's nice.
Because this one it doesn't even hit 90 proof.
No.
Does it?
I'm not sure.
Let me pull it up. We've got, let's see. Yep. Oh, it actually does sit right at 90 proof.
And I just checked price on larceny too. It's only $26.99.
Oh, so I'm wrong.
Puts it even at a better value. So.
Yep. So, Dad, you've got Baker's.
Yes.
A little bit higher proof here.
Yes, not a lot. It's certainly not where I generally go. I like the 120s plus.
Yeah.
But at 107, it's just like I said earlier. It's a sleeper bourbon. I see it on the shelf, and I'm actually surprised every time I see it on the shelf because it should be in somebody else's home. I think I even have a backup that I bought this bottle thinking I didn't have any. Get home and I got one, but it doesn't matter because I just enjoy this bourbon. It's got a lot of flavor. It's hitting all the right notes. Mm-hmm. It's a Jim Beam product, so it's got that Jim Beam peanut funk or nutty funk,
which you really like.
I like that, mm-hmm. and I just reach for it.
Yeah.
I put it on the shelf and cracked the bottle the first night I had it, or got it home, and that's what I wanted.
It does very much drink like a baby brother to the Booker's line, which is of the same family. It's a Jim Beam product. All of the Booker's products are $90+ these days, though. Yeah. So this is a major reduction in price point. And yes, it's a reduction in proof as well, but I agree. I think that one is a sleeper. My time working at the liquor store, we'd get Baker's in relatively frequently, and it would surprise me how many people would look at it and, I'll pass.
It's got a funky bottle cap on it.
Yeah,
cork.
yeah.
The cork is as big as a silver dollar. I mean, it's just weird looking.
Or at least the cap is.
Yeah,
like
the
the
cap
cork
is.
itself is, it
Yeah, it's a
almost
standard
seems
cork.
yeah, it almost seems disproportional to the cap itself, but it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's like judging a book by its cover.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that with the Baker's bottle for
And
sure.
They see Baker's and they go, "What's Baker's?"
Yeah.
They see $60, and then they think, "Well, what else can I get for $60?"
Mm-hmm.
And there's other products out there in that price range. I mean, the Old Forester lineup.
And that's what I was going to ask. So we asked Elora if we had larceny in the bunker today, if she'd have taken it, would there have been a different product that you would have grabbed had we had it tonight?
Yes.
What would that have been?
Evan Williams Bottled and Bond.
Okay.
$17.99. It's just an honest, stellar, under $20 bottle.
I would agree. That's the white label product. You can always find it at the bottom shelf in any liquor store, really. Wherever you go across the country, that one is going to be accessible and very, very cheap. But it doesn't taste cheap.
What I find interesting about that one, if I pour something, whatever it is, and I'm finished it and the night's still a little bit young, I would go for the Evan Williams just to round out the night.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say bring out your good stuff first and your mediocre stuff second. I would have no trouble pouring Evan Williams first. But it just finishes out the night well, and it's 100 proof.
Yeah. So you're getting a whole lot of bang for your buck.
I think the last bottle I bought was $17.95.
Yeah. So that's where my article, The Whiskey Conundrum, really comes in. When I read my article, if I'm looking at $20 to $30 product, I don't have anything listed for under $20 because that just didn't seem fathomable to me. When it came to proof, I expect that price point to convey somewhere between an 80 and 90 proof. They're meant to be readily available. They're meant to have a ton of product to go around, so they often get watered down so that you never run out of them in a liquor store. So that Evan Williams Bottled and Bond completely exceeds that value price point at $17 and hitting at 100 proof. It's pretty impressive in that way.
If you've not had it, do yourself a favor. Buy a bottle.
Definitely.
At the worst case, you've spent $18-20 and you have a mixer bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's multi-purpose for sure.
I would also say there was kind of like a theme going on where that Baker's and then that Evan Williams were found lower on the shelf. Should you check out the lower shelf then? Because those ones are good for their
Baker's
value.
isn't too often on a lower shelf because it is a $60 product, but it's one that comes in and out of liquor stores intermittently. So it's not around long enough, I think, to create lasting power in a customer's mind. And when it does pop up, it's kind of a, I'll get it next time, maybe. Not this time, I want to get something else. But I do think, Elora, you bring up a valid point that the bottom shelf area can be very fruitful when it comes to value. Another one that comes to mind is Early Times Bottled and Bond. That one has been discontinued over here in Idaho. We don't have that one anymore. When we did have it, it came in the liter size. We'd never had 750 mil. And that was a $25 product. And that one definitely met the value market 100%. So coming over to me, though, because I still want to talk about myself, right? So I poured Weller Full Proof. When I gave the assignment to these guys, pick the best value product in the house, I didn't even know what I was going to grab yet. I kind of had to meander through our collection to see what it was. But as soon as I saw this guy, I knew that it was what I wanted to grab. At about $55, and the last time we actually purchased this, it was only $50. But $55 is still, in my opinion, very, very reasonable for a product that's 114 proof. it's foolproof, so it's hasn't had that watered down effect to it.
Foolproof and barrel strength mean two different things. Foolproof means that's what it was put into the barrel at.
So I'm wrong.
114
I could be wrong
proof.
then. Yeah.
So it has been watered back down to 114
Okay.
proof. So if it did rise, they take it back to the
Its original entry.
right. Another
Gotcha.
one that might come to mind if you've seen it out there would be the 1792 foolproof. It
Yes.
goes into the barrel at 125. It's sold in the bottle at 125.
Gotcha. So, but it is still a higher proof offering. Both Dad and I really like higher proof whiskeys. So this one already is leaning in that direction, and it's a Buffalo Trace product. So Dad has that affinity towards Jim Beam products with its peanut funk. I really like Buffalo Trace products with their fruity flavors to them.
So I'm going to throw this out there, be the devil's advocate a little bit. 114 proof. We got the bottle that we're sitting on right now for $50. It's going for $55 MSRP. The rest of the world isn't buying that bottle at $55.
No, nowhere close.
So on the secondary market, I'm certain that people are, or even in the mom and pop retailers out there, I'm certain that Weller Full Proof is going for 100, 120, 130. Would you value this at that price?
I would value it at that price. I don't know if that would mean that this product would still sit in a best value category, though. Because if you put it at that $100, $120 mark, this product drinks at that price point. So I would pay that much, and I would expect this out of the bottle.
Fair enough.
For me, as you climb in price point, it gets harder and harder to meet that criteria, meet that standard of that price point. So therefore, it's harder for a product to exceed that value margin to be worth more than that.
Hence the conundrum.
Hence the conundrum for me. So those are our best value ones. Like I said, they all kind of sit relatively close to each other in price. Elora mentioned that price was a big deal to her as a college student. How much is price like really coming into your mind, Dad? Because I know when you do reviews, you're not rating things with price in mind much at all.
I have the ability, I guess, to throw price out the window. Now, these guys are always talking price. But when I evaluate a bourbon, I let it stand on its own merit. I try hard not to take price into consideration. Although even in every review that you read on our website, that it's going to have the price point in it,
Yep.
the manufacturer price point in it, but I'm not evaluating what I'm tasting based on price. I get what you're doing,
Yeah.
Hannah. I understand you have an expectation. To me, I go in with a blank slate and I say, what am I getting here? What am I tasting?
I think both of those approaches are really important. We do have that section at the bottom of our reviews, the worth the price categories, where we delve into that a little bit more. That section of our reviews it has its own weight in my scoring. It has less of a weight in Dad's. It has a weight in yours,
Very much so.
Elora. So
I have a section on the bottom as well. It says, would I buy it again?
yeah,
I have that too,
Yes.
but worth the price and buy it again to me mean different things.
okay. So elaborate on that, because I think that contributes very much to the conundrum we're talking about here.
So, worth the price to me, I mean, usually my maximum willing to spend, let's see, going off of today, probably between $50 and $70. Because I'm in the height of college. I am very much thinking of how I spend my money. So it better be a good bourbon or whiskey for that matter if I'm spending $70 on it.
So,
Buying it again means I would like it enough to give it a second chance, or I would like it enough to put in my bunker. But if I buy like a $70 bourbon and I'm like, all right, that was a splurge, but I really, really liked it, I was like, that doesn't matter. I'll buy it again. I'll get that again.
Old Forester 1920.
Exactly. Great. Fantastic. If we had that, I'd probably also select that as like a very worth the price sort of deal. If I don't select like a buy it again, but it is at that range, I can understand why other people would be willing to get it for 70 or even higher dollars.
But it's just not for you.
But it's just not for me. So that buy it again for me is a very personal preference. It's very subjective, and it helps me be able to round out just how much I really appreciated the whiskey that I am drinking.
I like that. I don't do that in mine. I keep it pretty concise too. Is it worth the price? And to me, that blends into my would I buy it again? Because to me, I can't break those two things up. They're very intertwined. I'm someone who, if I'm buying any product, whether it's whiskey or anything in retail, I want my purchase to reflect the price I pay. In a real sense, not in a, I'm buying a name brand, so of course it's going to be worth $150. I don't think it's worth $150, whatever the case may be.
So for me, just to throw this out there, I won't pay secondary on any bourbon. I can't think of a bourbon out there that I would want and pay secondary price.
Do you think that's more of a value conundrum or a moral conundrum?
I think it's more of a moral conundrum. Now, there may be an exception. Now, the only exception that I can possibly see, and it would have to be very specific, if I walked into a store and I saw a whole bunch of dusty Bookers, Bookers from 2014, Bookers from whatever.
It's hard
I think
to believe that
might
would be dusty.
I would certainly entertain different prices.
Yeah.
But it would only be for the nostalgia of it. And I certainly would drink them, but I would also know going in, hey, I paid more than I should have here.
And we're going to come back to that. Keep that thought in mind because I want to come back and loop around.
Okay.
But before we do, I do want to quickly mention for myself that had we had Weller Antique, I would have picked that over Weller Foolproof. I know they're sisters. I know they're right next to each other, but that Weller Antique, I've said it also in many, many episodes, that was my baby. That's the bourbon that started it all for me. There's always going to be a sentimental attachment that I have to the nostalgia, the memory of that particular bottle. So I think memory and nostalgia and any sentimentality is going to also factor into your value.
Interestingly, it's the same price.
There you go. So for me, I'm putting now at $55. So as far as a technicality point stands, Weller Foolproof I think meets the best value criteria. However, as a personal stance, Weller Antique is going to meet the almighty best value stamp.
And again, speaking strictly MSRP.
Yes. Yep. But okay, technicality wise, I'd pay $120 for Weller Foolproof and I'd say that's a worthy price for it. I'd pay $150 for Weller Antique.
Wow.
That bottle is just that moment.
It
for
speaks
me.
to you.
It speaks to me.
Speaks
The art that's in that bottle is memory coated, so it's always going to weigh pretty heavily.
So Hannah, you're willing to put a price on it.
Yeah.
Like a different price on
Yeah,
it.
I would put a different price on it because my emotional weight to that bottle weighs more than the technicality aspect that Weller Foolproof provides.
So when someone asks you if you had to put a price on this, you could gauge it lower or higher.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't. That's a more difficult question for me to answer.
Well, it's really, for me, just working backwards, right? So whatever I'm buying at whatever price point, I have certain expectations for that product to meet that price. But if I were to be given a product as a blank slate, how Dad treats his bourbons, his whiskeys when he does reviews, if I were to go into it completely blind, I could tell you how much I'd be willing to pay for it. I think a lot of people could.
Yeah.
A lot of people could, but it may shock a lot of people once the blindfold, metaphorically speaking, is off and they go, oh, this is a bottle that's people are paying $200, $300, $400 for, and it's not that great.
So,
Yeah.
so here's an interesting one. If I saw Wild Turkey Rare Bird sitting on the store shelf at whatever price it's going for,
Rare breed,
rather, I would probably not buy it because I have a Wild Turkey negative bias. I can't tell you why. I just would rather not have it. Yet, if somebody put Rare Breed, Weller Foolproof, a Booker's, whatever, a Baker's, whatever out there in front of me, I would more than likely do that Rare Breed as the best in the bunch.
I find that so interesting because, I think you two are more involved in the advent calendar, or there was something like...
Yeah.
There was something like what we did where you had to guess what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
What the whiskey was. And for that, there was no bias. I think for me, if I encountered a whiskey and was told, put a price on that, I'd have a better idea of how to do that. But if I am given a price, then I'm like, all right, well, here's the value I've got to work with.
So that kind of lends itself into the next segment here. When I told these guys, pick our best value product in the house, I then said, also pick our worst value product in the house. And it's interesting, Elora, that you mentioned give it to me blind and I'll tell you how much it's worth. I'll start this time. The worst value product that I picked was Elijah Craig 18-year-old. I know I'm going to pause to let everybody gasp and scream and curse at me. Okay, you've said your piece. I gave this, Dad and I did a review on this one. I know it hasn't been published. I apologize. But we did do a review on this one. We thought a lot about it. And I walked away from it with a disappointment I don't think I've ever encountered with a bourbon before. And I believe it was on a podcast episode. I don't recall the exact one, but we poured some of this for you, Elora, and didn't tell you what it was. And your response to it was, it's all right. It's pretty decent. These days, we had to look it up also, but this one sits at, as of last September, MSRP puts it at $160. We didn't spend that much for this bottle that I'm pouring out of. We got a few years ago, so we paid about $120, $130. So when we reviewed it, I wasn't even coming at it with a, what should this $160 product taste like? It was, how much should this $130 product taste like? And it failed that one as well. 90 proof, so I'm already a little bit upset. 18 years old, you know that it had to get watered down a whole bunch. And I understand that Angel's Share, Devil's Cut, etc. There probably wasn't a whole lot to actually go around to put in all of the bottles, so you put in a little bit of water to make sure you have some availability of the product across the country and wherever else you're going to export it to. But all the same, that watering down, in my opinion, completely eliminated so much of the complexity that this could have offered. At 18 years old, I'm wanting to taste the history. I'm wanting to taste the heavy oak. I'm wanting to taste some really intense spice. And Elijah Craig, being Elijah Craig, a Heaven Hill product, spice should be punching me in the face. And it just wasn't.
It fell short for me as well.
Yeah.
You I liked it better than you. But again, it's a bottle that, yes, we've had it in our bunker a long time, and it's still sitting unfinished.
And we actually have another bottle that's unopened.
Yes. So it's one of those kind of things that, yes, we have it, but I'm not reaching for it. I know it's there. If I want it, I certainly can get it at any time. It's sitting right over my right shoulder. I just don't need it.
Yeah. Because for something that, it is very oaky, you know, we all have poured our worst in show. It is very oaky. So in that regard, okay, nice, but like I said, there's no spice here. I don't really get a sense that I'm tasting history. I feel like I could get this from an Evan Williams 100 proof, which
to
you know
me,
is $100+ cheaper.
We don't have any Elijah Craig straight bourbon in our house.
No.
94 proof, whatever.
Yep.
We don't have any of that. I would rather reach for that than the Elijah Craig 18.
I agree. And that sits at about $30-$35. That's a great value one as well.
You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Here, you have expectations.
Yeah.
Going in. It has a big label on it. I mean, 18 years. So you have an expectation. It just didn't meet the expectation.
Yeah.
And you didn't tell me what it was? Like, you didn't
No.
give me any details?
Nope.
No.
We didn't tell you anything. We just,
I have no memory of this.
I remember pouring it for you because I was so curious as to what your interpretation of it was going to be. And you were just, it's all right.
Yeah.
And then I told you
it
it's
didn't wow me.
Elijah Craig 18 year. Okay, it's all right. Guess how much it's worth. And I think you probably said somewhere in that $40 to $60 range. And nope, it's $160.
And there's
no way.
no way. Exactly.
Yeah,
There's no way.
There's just no way.
Like, I think I do remember something about that conversation. I don't remember being sent a bourbon that had no information on it.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, this
I
is
don't
something
No,
you have here.
it would have been
Yeah.
here at home. You would have been home from school, and I poured it for you myself and gave it to you blind.
I fully trust that you guys did that. It's just, guys, I don't have a very good memory, and grad school really screws it
Well,
up.
I think even
So-
that kind of lends itself to my point a little bit, though, that you had this,
is not a
and it was
memorable
not
bourbon.
memorable for you.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
That's a pretty big
My
point.
bad memory helps with this, guys.
With the argument. But, and what's interesting is, okay, so I have Elijah Craig 18 year for my reasons. And then Elora, you have an Elijah Craig.
I do. I have Elijah Craig. Wait for it. A123.
Yes.
A barrel proof.
A barrel proof.
Yep. And
This
that's
is-
another one where it's like, I have a bad connotation or bad memories towards an Elijah Craig experience. So I don't know how long ago it was, maybe a year or two ago. We went through an entire month of December or some month.
It was September.
September, yes.
We were doing the 30 bourbons in 30 days.
And the last chunk of it is what destroyed me pretty bad. Because this is a stupid high proof. What's the proof on it?
This one is 125.6. And this is our cheapest out of our worst pick.
Yeah. This is like
at
an
$80. So
Yeah.
still very, it's still nothing to... It's expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Elijah Craig, when I first started drinking it, the barrel proofs were $59.99. And it was a big ask for me back in those days. And then it went to $64.99. And then it went to $69.99. And then it went to $79.99. Now, I still like the Elijah Craig barrel proofs. To me, they're very interesting. In fact, my favorite one, I think, was a C919.
Mine was C917.
And it just punched. I mean, it just hit you between the teeth.
Yeah,
But
and
I
don't-
expected it.
Yeah.
I think, like, when it comes to 120, I am expecting it. But I'm also wanting more complexity. See, that's the thing. Like, I like balance. I like balance of flavors. I like balance of the feeling. Like, if I'm getting a whole round of sweet, fruit, wood, earth, floral, everything that can be found on our color wheel on our website, and it is a high proof, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's gonna be some heat to it, but there's balance to it. I'm not getting punched. This punched me. I felt assaulted by it. Because
all
it's
you were
a-
getting was spice.
All
Yeah.
I was getting was spice, and I'm like, this isn't well balanced.
Alcohol
So-
heat in Elijah barrel proofs are extreme.
Right.
They're just extreme.
You have to
Yeah.
hunt for the sweet.
And I
Yeah.
don't like that. I like being on a... This is the only time I like scavenger hunts. Any other time, I hate them. But when it comes to tasting things or tasting whiskeys and figuring out what types of flavors I'm getting, yeah, it can be kind of fun. It can be fun to hunt out the caramel versus the oak. It can be fun to hunt out the flowers versus the pomegranate or something like that. But if I'm only getting heat and it's hurting me, it's like hurting my chest, it's hurting my mouth, I'm not gonna want it. So $80 for me is a huge ask.
You're paying $80 to get punched in the face.
Yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
that. I don't want that.
It just doesn't sound like a good time. Now, for people who are the proof hounds, Dad and I really like the proof. I'll admit there are times when I open up the cabinet and see the Elijah barrel proofs, and I just, not today, Satan, because they are that intense, and I'm not wanting that all of the time. But there are some times when I know, okay, I'm not going to be going to bed for another 4 hours, and I'm going to be popping some popcorn or having some chips or whatever, something salty. Then, all right, I'll go ahead and pour you and indulge and make this last for 4 hours.
So you're also leveraging the snack by going with something salty
Yeah.
to coax out the sweet.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because salt counters sweet.
Now,
or
If
enhances
y'all
sweet.
haven't had bourbon with popcorn, it is an experience.
It's pretty good. But I do think that a bourbon, that really any whiskey, should be able to stand on its own 2 feet without the assistance of food or water. Although maybe some of us prefer our drinks like that, totally cool. But as a product itself, when it's coming down the line, out of the distillery, being put in its cases, it should be able to stand on its own as itself. And I do think that sometimes Elijah Craig barrel proofs struggle to do that because they're so intense.
Well, you'll have an Elijah Craig barrel proof. They get 3 a year.
Yep,
And all 3 are going to be different.
that's true. Yep.
However, all 3 have the potential to punch you in the teeth.
So there's a bit of novelty to them as well because they are seasonal releases.
I can respect high proof. I really, really can. And there's plenty, I'm sure, I can't name them on the top of my head, where I have said, wow, what a great whiskey, or wow, what a great bourbon. That has been pretty high up there. Like, I'm not a low proof, always type of gal. I just want balance.
Yeah.
I just want a versatile whiskey.
Yeah.
And the barrel proofs don't give, the Elijah
No.
Craig barrel proofs don't give you the balance.
No.
I do wonder how successful the line would be if they were just a once a year release, because admittedly for us, there are times when I go, oh, the new release is out. We've got to get it so that the collection stays complete. How much am I going to really love it? I don't know. But I want to have A to C,
You
1
want,
to 3.
yeah, you want all the
You
keys
know,
on the keyboard.
Yeah, I
88
want them all.
keys. I want 88 keys.
You know, I don't want to have a missing link in there.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting component to it as well. And there's another line that has that same kind of, you got to have the complete story. And Dad, we kind of lead right into you now with your.
Well, that's, you know, I'm a Booker's fanboy. And everybody knows I'm a Booker's fanboy.
Well, I mean, with what you
Okay.
poured tonight.
Well, that's true, too.
You know, because tell the people.
So
This is going to shock everyone.
This family is a Brown Forman family. We like Brown Forman products, particularly Old Forester products.
I love them.
It's shocking because we all have our favorite distilleries. Dad really loves the Jim Beam. I really love the Buffalo. Or kind of
It's Old Forester
wiggles.
for me.
You
and
like
Larceny.
yeah,
Yeah.
Larceny's are
Little
Heaven
Heaven
Hills, but we all love Brown Forman. We all love Old
It's just
Forester.
Old
consistent.
Forester. So when we read about, or in one of my newscasts during a podcast a while back, we read about the Old Forester 1924. And the 1924 basically is a different mash bill than all of the other Old Foresters that are out there. It's the 1924 is a throwback to Prohibition era, when Heaven Hill had a license to sell medicinal whiskey.
When Heaven Hill or Brown Forman?
I'm sorry, Brown Forman had a license to sell the medicinal whiskey. They started running out. But what they did was go out to a bunch of other distillers that were shuttered, and they started buying stocks of these barrels from the other distillers. So it was the only time in their history that they actually bought whiskey from other vendors and sold it under their name.
So it's sourced.
It's sourced. Now,
So, and it is also the new bookend to Old Forester's Whiskey Row series.
exactly.
So there is a sense of completing the collection with that
Exactly.
with that year.
Now, the 1924 is not a sourced bourbon. They're making it themselves, and they're putting their own labels on it. But it's a throwback to those
To that time.
1924 during Prohibition. When we had it, we were really looking forward to it. There were some things about it that were a little bit interesting. It's 10 years old, so it's the first bourbon that Brown Forman's put out that actually has an age statement. It's 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malt barley. It's 100 proof. Now, I found that interesting because the Old Forester Signature Series, we did a podcast early on about it, and we were all blown away.
Yep. That one is another really great value.
$26.95,
Yep.
100 proof,
Yep.
and you know, some people call it Orange Label, some people call it Signature Series, whatever. It's just a good bourbon. And then in their old Whiskey Row series, they have the 1897. It is a bottled and bond bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
So when we saw this one, we're thinking, oh, okay, 10 years.
We've never met an Old Forester we didn't like, including even the 86 proof.
Yes.
We like that one just fine.
And when we had this, okay, 10 years, you're going to spend a little bit more, $115.
This is the most expensive Old Forester.
Wow.
Well, not of our collection. We don't
Right.
have the birthday bourbon.
Yeah.
I have not had this, so it's a very interesting.
So plug your ears and go la la la.
La 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 la. Earmuffs.
Yeah, in my opinion, this was a letdown. It drinks hotter than 100 proof,
But it's not even bottled in bond.
but it's not even a bottled and bond product.
Which is very odd to me that at this price point and for the celebratory.
All day long, I would rather grab the orange label than grab for this. All day long, I would rather grab the 1897 than grab for this. Now, we have the bottle. It's sitting on our shelf. I poured some tonight. I'm drinking it right alongside of my other choice, the Baker's. I'd rather have the Baker's
Yeah.
at $60. Okay, we can tap Elora now.
You're good now. She really did have the earmuffs on.
I actually did, and I completely spaced out. So I think I heard like minor details of it,
Mwah, 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 mwah.
and then
Yeah.
like $60, and then
Yeah.
So
But
it's really easy for me to space out, actually.
But it's just interesting. And price, actually, when you look at this segment here, weighed a little bit less almost. We all have very different ranges. Elora's sitting over here at $80. You're sitting nearly $40 more expensive. I'm sitting at at over $40 more than you, Dad. And we all say these are bad value products. So how much is price really putting in for the grand scheme of things? For me, it weighs really high. The more exorbitant the price, the bigger the letdown potentially.
For me, and I like I say, I try not to have a price bias, but I had expectations here, and whatever it was,
Would they have been like Old Forester expectations?
yes,
The
I
name.
expected better from them.
I
And
kind
Elora-
of guessed about that because when you did bring out the when Hannah assigned us this task, Dad immediately said Old Forester 1924, and I'm like, oh. But I mean, I'm not gonna take that as like it's a bad bourbon. I'm not. I'll wait until I
it's
post
not
my.
a bad bourbon.
And you bring up an excellent point, Elora, because I'm drinking my Elijah 18, and it's not a bad product. It tastes just fine.
Just like this is not a bad product.
Yeah, I'm not spitting it out and pouring it down the sink by any means. I'm just saying, for what I paid, I'm upset.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too, because with my Elijah Craig, perhaps to you guys it'd be a steal, but for me, it's not. I
It's
mean,
not your wheelhouse.
some people really do like the high proof. The higher the proof, the better.
Yeah.
And some people would say that my worst one, I'll use the quote unquote worst one, in this particular context, they'd say $80, that's a steal, because they would be spending $115, $155
On secondary.
Yeah. Some
Yeah.
people would, but for me, I have to be so careful with what I am spending right now in my life. So this one would be pretty low on the list.
But you also have a history. You've
Yeah.
had numerous
yeah, I
bottles.
had numerous of it in a row, like days and days and days on a row.
I think Laura's misfortune was she had 5 days in a row of 5 different Elijah Craig
Five
barrel-
different punches to the face.
Yes.
Some
and,
to the side, some square on the nose. Like, it was
and
just...
by day 5, all it was heat.
I think at one point I asked you, are we getting anything else other than
Yeah.
Elijah Craig? Like, I think I ended up asking that.
Yeah. the following week in that, if I remember,
I
in
actually
that
did a
series.
I actually did a dry January, and it wasn't unintentional, or it wasn't intentional. I just could not do alcohol for a month.
Yeah. So when we did our 30 bourbons in 30 days, I think the following week to that was Maker's Mark week. A completely different product. Maker's Mark, wheated bourbon, much sweeter, less punch in the face, not the same heat.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
And
instead
there's
of 120, now we're 105, 109.
And there's plenty of Maker's Mark whiskeys and bourbons that I really, really do like. I mean, they're pretty. The ones I've had are pretty consistent. They're pretty consistent. I don't think I've come across a really bad one. I mean, they're not as consistent as Old Forester, because Old Forester, my love.
I mean,
But-
the Maker's Marks, we really love the director's cuts or the store picks. We get those every time we see them. At least I do. They sit at about $70. And I thought about grabbing one of those for tonight, but quite honestly, when I pay $70 for those, I get a $70 product out of the bottle. So it didn't really feel so much as a great value to me. It is more of a, you're paying for what you get, and
You get what you pay.
and you get what you pay. And I love that about them. There's no guesswork. There's no gambling involved in it. It's, I know I'm paying $70 and I'm going to get $70 product in this bottle, and I'm going to be happy all day about it.
And when we speak of the Maker's Mark and Director's Cut and so on, these are the ones that are the wood finishing series.
Yes.
Where they're putting the 10 staves into the barrel to make the flavors.
They're the modified Maker's 46s. They're just more unique.
Yes. And the state of Idaho buys quite a few of them, although I haven't seen one recently. But it's just nice to have them on the shelf. You know, out here they may be called a director's cut. I think we had director's cuts 1 through 7 or whatever number.
And now they're getting specific names. The batches are getting. We have the banker in our bunker right now. The banker and the bunker.
Yeah. And then we've also had the wise woman.
Yep.
Or we've had creme brulee.
Yep.
I mean,
Very intriguing. Very intriguing.
It's just interesting, and it's all done with adding the extra staves at the end of the finishing for an extra 6 or 7 to 10 weeks or whatever it is. So, but you're getting a $70 bourbon when you buy the $70 bourbon, and yes, one might be better than the other, but like Hannah says, I don't think that they're outstanding values.
Right.
I want to bring up a really kind of going back to like my buy it again category with this one, with the Elijah Craig A23 or A123. So had this been like a $60 bourbon, it's a bourbon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Had this been a $60 bourbon, I would say it's worth the price, but I would not buy it again. That's where I draw the line. I can respect this for its high proof, about at a $60 range.
So I think the ultimate point here is that the value conundrum is going to be very subjective. From one end, you can get it from, I'm going in with a complete blank slate. I don't want to care about the price. You could go to, I'm going to respect the price and appreciate what comes out of it, but it may not be for me. Or you could go all the way to my level and say, if it's not worth the price, it's not worth buying again, period, end of story. Subjectively, it's terrible. Or subjectively, this was a disappointment. So having that value conundrum, it's so personal to everyone. And this is where I want to kind of loop back to something you mentioned earlier, Dad. And now I can't remember what it was. But it was about the Bookers and going in and buying old Bookers and knowing that you're
Yes.
spending a bit more for them. So I think something that I didn't mention in my article, and something that I really didn't start thinking about until extremely recently, is that the value conundrum, we've been thinking of it in terms as consumers, meaning people who are going to consume the product they are going to buy. But some people in the game are buying product to stow away and let it increase in price, increase in value. So they are more of a customer.
Collector.
They're a collector. So the value point, I want to just share this. I Googled the other day just whiskey value. I didn't specify bourbon. I didn't add any price tags. I didn't mention any distilleries or any product names, just whiskey value. And scrolling through the search results here is just, what's your bottle worth? The whiskey pricing machine. I'm reading off of my phone now. What is your bottle worth? How much is my old bottle of whiskey worth? Free valuation, Bourbon Blue Book. And it isn't until I get over a dozen links, hyperlinks, articles by other bloggers, by other reviewers, that I get to not even a blog post, but a Reddit post of what are the best whiskeys for the money. So to me, that completely opened a whole new door in my mind to what others may be perceiving when they look at value or when they look at a bottle. They're not thinking about it in terms of, I'm going to open this and enjoy it, and is it going to meet the mark?
And that's sad because they should.
Because they should, but that's neither here nor there. But the value of buying the product to have the product, and sometimes it comes all the way back to a name. And I mean, that kind of relates a little bit to what you were saying about the Bookers, knowing that I am going to spend more than what the MSRP is, but it's going to be from I want all the ones that I can have. Now, you're going to drink them.
Yes.
In this hypothetical world, you're going to drink them. But there is still kind of that, I think, similar mentality of, I want all of them.
Yes. Now, regular listeners of our podcast know that when we review a bourbon, oftentimes we're going to talk about what the shelf price is, what we pay for it, what it's valued at, what fair price is.
Yep.
I use an app that kind of gives me all that information. And to me, it kind of sets the balance, or what have you. When I talked earlier about Bookers, there is one Bookers I desperately want. Okay? It has nothing to do with the bourbon inside the bottle. There's a batch, I don't know what year it's from, I think 2014. It's called Bluegill Batch. And I want it for very sentimental reasons. My mom and dad did not drink bourbon, but they fished. And they predominantly fished for bluegills. I would love to have that bottle because that will bring me close to mom and dad. Okay? I don't care that there's a batch called Blue Thunder Batch. I don't care that there's other batches out there, but if I saw them, they would make me stop and take note, because there's history in those bottles.
Yeah.
And that to me is the most interesting thing specifically about Bookers. Bookers has 3 or 4 releases a year. Typically 4, but one year recently they just had 3. Every batch has a story. And they were put out by Booker No when they first came around. The Bluegill batch was one of his. And it tells a story about, and you've heard us all talk about Hannah's favorite Bookers is Country Ham. Okay. My favorite Bookers is Barbecue Batch.
Yep.
But they have a story. There's Beaten Biscuits. There's Kathleen's Batch. There's Kitchen Table. Well, Kitchen Table, Booker used to like to sit around the kitchen table and entertain his friends. Country Ham Batch, he loved to smoke ham. Biscuit Batch, he loved to have biscuits with his ham. Barbecue Batch, he loved to do a big plate of pork chops and do barbecue for everybody. I just love the stories of the Bookers.
And I think stories and history can really impact our subjective value to them.
No doubt.
I mean, a lot of people would go, okay, whatever, I'm buying the bottle. Like, it's just, it's this proof, it's this distiller, I like it, so I'm just going to get it.
I mean, my Elijah Craig A123 is part of a story for me. Like,
exactly.
I did not like it because it punched me in the face. Therefore, I have that negative bias towards it.
And like I mentioned towards the beginning, I'd pay $150 for Weller Antique just because of the sentimentality that I have with that bottle. And it's, you know, the first bourbon that really caught my attention and made me appreciate the whiskey for the art that it is, that I consider it to be. So those things are really big and important. I think that, yes, everybody's opinions are going to be subjective. However, I do think that, you know, we've got to talk at least a little bit about, like, the recommendation here. You know, if you're new to whiskey, if you're new to looking at all of those different price tiers, and some of them are going to look really, really daunting, and it is a gamble, completely understand that. I think that ultimately, you know, I mentioned this in my Whiskey Value Conundrum article, that as a consumer, I'm not talking about as a collector, as a consumer, you have to know what things you really like in your whiskey. So pick a couple of expectations, okay? And I don't want to say anticipations, because then we start talking into like secondary market stuff, and I don't really want to go there. That could be a whole other episode. Definitely related to value, but we're going to focus on expectations here. And think about certain price brackets. Maybe they're $10 increments, maybe they're $20 increments, maybe they're $50 or $100 increments. I don't know. But pick some expectations for certain increments. What proof are you looking for? Are you looking for a specific mash bill range? Heavier corn or heavier rye? Are you looking for it to be blended, or are you looking for it to be a single barrel? And start piecing that together for yourself. And then when you walk into the store and pick something up, you already have kind of a little bit of a calibration of where you're looking to go.
It's also okay to completely wing it.
Yeah.
And maybe just start small with the price. I mean,
and that's what you did, Dad. When you were first getting into whiskey.
When I first started, I went to the Smallies shelf. Smallies are your 375 milliliters.
Yep.
And I would buy a Smallie of Wild Turkey and a Smallie of Makers. And then I would have a little bit from each bottle, and I would say, oh, I like this, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
So that could be a really great way to help figure out your expectations for certain things. Do you like more of a wheated product? Yeah. Or are you looking for something a bit more spicy, like an Elijah Craig? You know, I think learning the value for yourself and depending less on what other people tell you the value is. I mean, I'm here telling you the Elijah Craig 18 year is not worth $160. That's just the MSRP. Okay, the fair market value for this same product is around $250. Hell to the no. Absolutely no. But that's me. So,
and we have friends that say that's the best bourbon they've ever had.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's another thing. Another thing that you can do. I only started getting into bourbon because of people I knew. My dad and my sister. So if you got a buddy out there or several people who drink bourbon,
Trade samples.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, seriously, because they can offer a whole bunch of other things and you can take it or leave it. You don't have to be influenced by this. I mean, these two like high proofs, and I'm like, well, I only like high proofs if they don't punch me in the face. But I'm not going to like high proofs simply because they like high proofs.
right. So don't look at value as something that has to match what fair market value is or even what MSRP is, because there are some things that are MSRP that I don't think are worth MSRP. But it's a subjective thing. And release yourself from thinking that everybody else is right and everybody knows what they're talking about, including us. I don't know shit, okay? We don't know shit. We're just here having a bourbon and talking to you. And you're listening. Thank you for listening. But, it's your glass, it's your pour, it's your moment. Sometimes value is going to be impacted by sentimentality, by memory specifically. We have a whole article on that as well, also written by myself. And plenty of episodes in our podcast, too, that talk about that sort of thing, about how memory can impact things, which impacts value. So, on that note, that's what I got for value.
Love it.
Does that
Absolutely
change?
love it.
So, like, as you guys have been drinking, though, I'm kind of curious, like, if, have opinions changed?
No, not for me.
For me, maybe with the travelers, but...
In what way? In what way?
Today, I mean, for me, I don't know if this is real. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps it is. But for me, after having it, yeah, it is a very comforting bourbon. But I'd put it on the same level of Larceny today. So I put it a little bit on a cheaper value. Same thing for the A123. It's a little nicer today for whatever reason. It's not punching me in the face. So maybe I can look at that $80 value with a more positive sort of thing. But I'm still not going to spend $80.
I would dare say, and I'm not saying this is what you would do, but if you decided today to get in your car and drive to the liquor store with the intent to buy, you're going there with a purpose.
I am going there with a very specific purpose.
You're getting Larceny straight, or you're getting Old Forester 1910, or
I'm
probably
buying
1920.
Yep. Or I am getting a present.
Yeah.
For someone, yeah.
But you're going there with a purpose. You're not going there to stand before the vast array
but even then,
of product.
I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm very much a get in, get out type of person. Really, the only types of settings that I really like are like when I'm with close friends or close family for that matter. But if it's like an occasion, I have to mentally prepare myself to go, like, even to the grocery store. So, like, I mean, that's just who I am, though. Like, it's seriously, yeah.
Well, that's good. This is a good episode. Good information.
Lots of things to kind of take into account as consumers. And, hopefully something in here has helped and made you think a little bit differently about what value is and how you can approach it. I mean, I think keeping an open mind is really important, and that's, I think, really the bottom line. Keep an open mind about value.
So, this fortnight in whiskey news. It's been a little while since we've discussed some news, but American single malt. So what's the delay? The status of American single malt is still sitting out there. The Alcohol, Tobacco, and Trade Bureau has not yet made a decision. Back in July of 2022, you guys probably remember me talking about this in the past. The American Single Malt Commission submitted guidelines to the TTB of what it means to be an American single malt whiskey. Just to remind everybody, made from 100% malted barley, distilled entirely at one distillery, mashed, distilled, and matured in the United States. Could be any of the United States, doesn't have to be any one in particular. Matured in oak casks, not over 700 liters max. That's similar to the Scotch standard, by the way. Distilled to be at distilled no more than 80% ABV, and bottled at 40% alcohol by volume or higher. Also Scotch standards, and interestingly enough, also American whiskey standards. So they're intentionally broad guidelines to allow for innovation and variance. Right after that, a 60-day commenting period was opened, and it concluded in September of 2022, and all told there were over 180 comments that were submitted to the TTB.
Now, was that 2022 or 2023?
2022.
Oh.
So it's been sitting out there on the docket waiting for some kind of decision for
over the
almost 2 years.
Yeah.
It'll be 2 years this September. So the vast majority of these comments were supporting the guidelines. Yet to date, the TTB has not announced any decision, and people are starting to chomp at the bit a little bit. The biggest reason for that is the commission would like to see some type of formal designation so we can find American single malt in the liquor store.
In its own section.
You can go to a liquor store today and you can find Irish, you can find Scotch, you can find rye, you can find whiskey, you can find
Bourbon,
Canadian, you can find bourbon. Where do you look for American single malt?
Typically, you know, when I was up in my college town trying to find it, I actually was like, all right, well, it's got to be somewhere maybe between bourbon and Scotch because it has similar qualities to both. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's an in-between sort of deal.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was like in a little island of independent whiskeys that just didn't have a category.
Didn't fit anywhere.
Didn't fit anywhere else. So Tyler Peterson, master distiller at Westland Distillery in Seattle, thinks that other government priorities and unforeseen world events have also caused the delay. We've had a lot of turmoil in the Middle East. There's other things going on, and now we've got this distraction of an election year. And then in Alameda, California, Lance Winters of St. George Spirits, he emphasizes the TTB prefers thorough consideration before they set any guidelines on anything. Gareth Moore, CEO of Virginia Distillery Courage and Conviction, he says this is something that really isn't new. They've been fighting this for so long that he has to tell everybody what it is over and over again. And there is no financial incentive to make this happen, so there is no financial urgency to make it happen. Still, the American Single Malt Commission, the ASMC, expects an inevitable recognition in spite of the delays. So hopefully we see the adoption of the product. While all that's going on, mainstream distillers are starting to come online. Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Bulleit, and others have released ASM variations. Now, the TTB has said it intends to issue a final rule on this proposal this year. Now, keep in mind, a similar statement was made back in 2023 and nothing happened. The Single Malt Commission has now over 150 members, and these guys are all supporting the initiative to go forward. So hopefully we start getting some government recognition. I'm a fan of American single malts. We did a whole episode on American single malts. If I'm not mistaken, it was episode 7 of our series 2. So check that out. And
we do a whole taste test of a few different American single malts. Sea to shining sea, so to speak.
Yes. So next, we'll talk a little bit about digital distillers. AI transforms the time-honored art of whiskey making. Now, for those of you who have some time, let's say you're driving somewhere in the upcoming weekend and it's going to take you 3.5 hours to get there, I encourage you to look up Greg Walters on LinkedIn. We were guests on his show 2 nights ago.
Yep.
And 3 hours.
3.5 hours or so. We talked everything and anything, with the crux of the argument, or not argument, but crux of the conversation being about the pros and cons of AI in art, in humanity, in whiskey, whole spectrum. Really, really fun time. Greg is always a fun guy to talk to. He's actually going to be on our show later this season, so you'll probably get a little bit of snippet of similar conversation at that time, but definitely go check him out and hear the hilarity that ensued, or should I say spiral of malady. Inside joke. You have to go listen to him to hear that one.
So anyway, in this news story here, is there room for innovation and technology when building a whiskey? Now, we've got ancient craftsmanship here. We've got whiskey traditions that we're looking at. Is there room for artificial intelligence?
I think, like, mathematically, you could probably argue, like, okay, yeah, well, we're working with the 76% corn, or, you know, do those statistics mathematically and be able to come up with those vital stats and be like, oh, yeah, that's just like computer data. But as far as the history goes, like you say, with the Foreman stories and the Jim Beam stories, I mean, it doesn't have that human flair. I'm one of those people that accepts that AI is going to be a part of the future, and I think it already is. But I still, as a musician, really, really value what kind of tactics of humanity there are that I can implement in my art, in my work. So,
and as an anthropologist, the study of humans, artificial intelligence is a difficult thing for me to wrap my head around because it's not human, and I think humanity is paramount, and you lose it with AI. But we digress.
Yep. Well, AI, it's here to stay, guys.
It is.
So
yeah.
AI, there's a distiller in Sweden called Mackmyra, and they, back in 2019, began making their own AI-developed whiskey. They had roughly 80 different batches that they had run. They put all the data from the 80 batches. They put all the data from the barrel chars, where the barrels were sourced, what kind of barrels were used, reviews from the bourbons that they had, or I'm sorry, the scotches that they had, or actually the whiskeys, because they're not coming from Scotland. And they dumped them into the AI product, and they came up with a whiskey that they called Macmira Intelligent. It's been well received. Europeans are loving it. I find it interesting that it got started back in 2019, long before any of us started talking about AI. Macallan Distillery uses AI-driven sensors to monitor and control every stage of the production.
I mean, it'd be no different than like a factory, mass producing a product.
Right. So they're monitoring the fermentation, the aging. They're using it to maintain optimal aging conditions. Glenfiddich employs AI to optimize resource usage, right down to taking whiskey waste to fuel their trucks. I find that very interesting that they're using whiskey waste to fuel trucks. The art and science of AI blended whiskey. My personal feeling, I'll just interject this, I think that AI will make a perfectly acceptable and probably quite good mediocre product. I don't know that it will ever make a product that is so wonderful that all of the masses clamor to get it. Mm-hmm. Because all it's doing, it's blending everybody's thoughts together.
Perhaps it could be good for like a restaurant setting, because usually the majority of restaurants that carry bourbon products, if they're not high end, will usually choose some of the lower priced ones like Jack Daniel's, Wild Turkey. So perhaps
the restaurant could have their own AI blended whiskey.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yep. So that's my thoughts on AI. AI whiskey, yeah, I think it's probably coming, and it's probably here to stay. I would be very surprised if big distillers here in this country haven't already begun using it to monitor what they're doing. So my suggestion is, should we be raising a glass to the AI evolution as it relates to whiskey? Maybe. Maybe not.
I think that in the context of tonight's topic, going forward, when we start seeing more AI influenced products on the shelf, how is that going to impact our value conundrum?
Yes.
Because now the blend, we talked about it a little bit, the moral conundrum. How does the value conundrum get impacted by the moral conundrum?
I want to bring up a comparison with this. Hannah and I and Dad, we've all been a part of retail in some sort. And I think all of us have had customers who have said, I'd rather buy local. Yeah. And I think that sort of argument, buying within your country or someone else's country could be comparable to buying something that is human made or buying something that was AI made.
That's a really good point. I could see that being a very analogous conversation to that.
It's somewhat on the lines of buying non-GMO food.
Yeah.
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 I mean, like
organic. AI is not organic. I wouldn't think it is. I mean,
we have a new topic for Greg.
We're gonna bring it up when he comes on the show.
Oh, very funny. Okay, so new whiskeys out there. There's quite a few new whiskeys. Got your new scavenger hunt. So for fans of F1 racing,
us,
yay!
Okay. So we got Jack Daniels and Formula One team McLaren. They have relaunched their partnership for 2020 from 2023. They've renewed it here for 2024. They have released their new limited edition packaging. What is inside the bottle is still Jack Daniel's Old Number 7, but they have a new bottle packaging. They call it a papaya twist over the classic Old Number 7 logo. They're incorporating the McLaren Heritage orange and black racing stripes diagonally over the Old Number 7 label, with the MCL by JD featured below the Jack Daniel's name. Mash bill, of course, Jack Daniel's Old Number 7, 80% corn, 8% rye, 12% malt barley, mellowed through 10 feet of charcoal before barreling, the Tennessee process. and bottled at 80 proof, with the MSRP of $30.95.
Not a bad price if you're a name brand kind of hunter or a limited edition kind of hunter. We got a bottle of this. We're F1 fans. We like the McLaren team too. They're not our favorite team, but we like the McLaren team. So it was pretty cool to add that one. That one is kind of more of a collector's piece for us because
It'll sit on the shelf.
We're not the biggest Jack Daniels fan, but I mean, it's McLaren. Come on, you got to get a bottle of that.
Nice.
So Jim Beam, they've come out. This one I love. I absolutely love. They've come out with a new product called A. Overholt. So everybody's heard of Old Overholt. Well, A. Overholt, Jim Beam purchased the iconic whiskey brand Old Overholt back in 1987. Freddie Noe, the youngest 8th generation master distiller there at the Jim Beam, he's stewarding this brand. Beam has committed to the brand's Pennsylvania roots with the release of A. Overholt. It's a straight rye whiskey made with 80% rye and 20% malt barley mash, it's being consistent with the Monongahela style, the way they used to make it back in the 1810s.
The Pennsylvania way. Because
Exactly.
I believe we had a podcast on the varieties of how ryes were made. There was a Pennsylvania way, there was a Maryland way, I believe there was a Virginia way.
Yep.
So this one is the Pennsylvania way.
And just kind of peel back that history a little bit, Old Overholt is the oldest American whiskey with its heritage starting in 1810, and it's one of the few that have consisted all the way through to today's date.
And the straight rye, that Old Overholt there, that one sits at about $20.
Yeah.
Great value rye.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal value rye. Buy that if you see it. Just a red cap screw top.
Yeah. So here, the A. Overholt, bottled at 47.5% ABV, priced at $40. And then the next one we've got is Fry Ranch Single Barrel 100% wheat whiskey. I've not had any Fry Ranch stuff. Our local whiskey club, we've got some members that absolutely love the stuff. Fry Ranch is down in Fallon, Nevada, not far from Winnemucca, I believe, maybe 80 miles outside of Winnemucca. It's a husband and wife team of Colby and Ashley Fry, and they describe themselves as whiskey farmers.
It's a good title.
Russell Wedlake is their master distiller. Their Fry Ranch is known for making grain-to-glass whiskey. Everything's done on site. The grains are grown on their 1,500-acre family farm. The mash bills are derived from the harvested grain. They're malting their own barley. They're maturing their barrels. Just a nice, great story. And it's one of those kind of things I'd love to support. 58.4% ABV, 116.8 proof. 134.4. Everything's a single barrel. So pretty wild about that. They're looking at a $114 MSRP at their ranch.
Which kind of makes sense if everything is done there and they're not sending it anywhere else. The amount of money that it would take to have all of that going on your property and be able to pay all of those paychecks and do all of the maintenance on everything, it's much more involved, I would assume.
Yep. And High West Distillery, they've come out with their own bottle and bond rye. High West operates out of their Utah distillery in Blue Sky Ranch. They have their own distillery now. They are actually producing their own distillate. In years past, they bought from MGP. They're famous, probably most famous for their Midnight Dram, a rye.
Also a rye, yeah.
Yes. This particular one, they're bottled in bond, obviously bottled at 100 proof. This one's aged 5 years and priced at $80 a bottle.
Less than the Midwinter Night's Dram.
By quite a bit. And then Old Forester have come back with their 117 series called their High Angels Share. They did a High Angels Share back in 2021. It's the 117 series is designed to focus on experimentation and innovation. After having the 1924, I don't know.
I'm still here for it. The 1924, didn't hit like the others did, but Old Forester and I, we've been together too long to let that come between us. So I'm here for it.
Old Forester has done quite a few experiments with this 117 series. They came out with a Bottle and Bond, a Warehouse H series, a Whiskey Row Fire series, commemorating the big fire that they had. They're asking a little bit for this one. 110 proof, 375 milliliter bottles, $60 a bottle, or you can get 2 bottles for $120 in a 2-bottle set.
Not bad.
And then lastly, Old Fitzgerald Bottled in Bond Bourbon, the 25th anniversary edition. This is a decanter series. Old Fitzgerald has got quite a following. The name dates back to 1884, when it was first legally registered. During Prohibition, the brand was acquired by Pappy Van Winkle, who turned it into a wheated bourbon. They replaced, of course, the rye in the mash bill with the wheat. The Old Fitz name arrived at Heaven Hill in 1999. That was the same year that the Louisville Bernheim Distillery was acquired, kind of to take over the Springs Distillery that got burned down. In 2018, twice the Old Fitzgerald product has come out since 2018, twice a year, spring and fall. Anyway, they've just released this very, very special expression. Mash bill of 68% corn, 20% wheat, 12% malt barley. And they've returned with this 25th anniversary product. The product came from 13-year-old barrels that was distilled way back in 1999.
So they've been sitting on the bottles.
They've been sitting on the product. It was believed it was put into stainless steel vats and simply sat there after it came out of the barrels.
Interesting.
And they did that because they wanted it to be a very special release. I guess 25 year is a good year to make that happen.
Yeah.
They believe it sat, or the internet pundits believe that it sat in the barrels or the containers for 11 years before being bottled. So it's going to have a high ask, $230.
Oh my gosh!
And available only in Kentucky and at the distillery.
I mean, that's a value conundrum.
Yep.
Already.
Collector.
Yep.
Collector
Yep.
item.
Absolutely.
So as always, the links to those stories will be on our website. If you want to read more about them.
Yep, and we'll also put a link over to the podcast that the three of us were on with Greg Walters so that you can easily hop over and listen to us laugh and make fun of each other over on his podcast.
And like I say, if you're traveling this Memorial weekend or any weekend that you've got 3.5 hours to spend, it's an entertaining show.
We're funny. We really are, I promise.
It was really fun.
Yep, and he's always such a joy to hang out with and have a pour with, even over a video cam. So that is our episode. Guys, what did you think about the value? I see, varying degrees of empty glasses here.
It was very interesting because I thought I had an idea, a very specific idea of how y'all considered value. But honestly, Dad, before this, I didn't realize that you took the same approach that I do with vital stats. I go into vital stats with a blank slate. You go into price with a blank slate. So I did not realize that. So there was a very educative experience for me to analyze how you both consider value in whiskey.
Great. I loved it. I loved it. This is I got to enjoy this because I didn't have to put the episode together.
It was nice to just have, a little conversation with everybody. And like I mentioned at the beginning, it is a conversation. Value is subjective, and we do want to hear what your guys' listeners, consumers, collectors, what you guys think about value and how you all approach the shelf in the liquor store. But let's talk a little bit quick before we wrap up what we've got coming on the horizon in our next couple series. Elora?
Looks like we're doing a proof spotlight on 90 to 99 proof. So this is probably a good category where I'm going to be like, oh, I like this because it's not, going to hit me in the face. Number 5, it looks like it's another whiskey review. I absolutely love those. Those are when I get to be really, really creative. So, yeah.
And that one, you'll know from our previous seasons that we do our first episodes of seasons as accessible whiskeys that we think you guys are probably able to find off the shelf. Those season finales are we pull out our unicorns and you guys tell us what you want us to review. This mid-season review is meant to be actually something a little bit different, whether it's a Scotch or a rye or maybe another American single malt.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Something off the beaten track of how hard we go in on those bourbons. So that should be a whole lot of fun.
And then episode 6 is the guest review. So we mentioned that Greg Walters was going to come on. And Dad, I think you had something.
Yeah, we've got a distillery review coming up. It'll be another Hannah show.
Yep, haven't decided yet what distillery that's going to be, but I do have a pretty good idea.
Then we'll do an expose. We'll discuss some topics and challenges we as whiskey aficionados face.
That could be a little bit of more of the value conundrum, the moral conundrum, the availability conundrum. That's a pretty big thing. Whole topic, whole conversation there.
And of course, I've got to have my whiskey history episode. I got an idea what I want to do with this one, but I'm not going to even tell the girls until I do it.
Oh boy.
Okay. All right.
And then, like I mentioned before, all of our season finales, those are our listeners' picks. So still be on the lookout for when we post the unicorns of this season that you guys will get to pick that we review.
Now, we might mix up the order, but regardless, I mean, it's going to be fun. I think that this is going to be a really fun season. Lots of surprises.
We're only on episode 3.
I know, and it's already looking so great.
We've already had so much fun.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for listening to our shenanigans, and we all look forward to hearing your opinions, your ideas, your rejections to our to our thoughts.
Yes.
I mean, we're open to everything, honestly. Just give us a comment on our website, whiskeyfortheages.com. And of course, we look forward to seeing you all again soon. And as always, we always end with the ringing of the Glencairns or the different varying levels of glasses. So here we are. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.